In this session, we will discuss about communication in Amoeba. Usually, communication in Amoeba happens in two ways, either through RPC or using group communication. First, we will discuss about RPC and then move towards group communication. Now, the RPC mechanism makes use of three principal kernel primitives. They are get request, put reply and trans. Now the first one, that is get request, indicates a server's willingness to listen to a port. Put reply is done by a server when it has a reply to send. Trans, send a message from client to server and wait for the reply. Now the first two, that is get request and put reply, are used by servers, whereas the third one, that is trans, is used by clients to transmit a message and wait for a reply. All three are through system calls, that is, they do not work by sending a message to a communication server thread. Users access the calls through library procedure as usual. However, when a server wants to go to sleep waiting for an incoming request, it calls get request. Now this procedure has three parameters as follows, that is the header, buffer and the bytes. Now the first parameter points to the message header, the second points to the data buffer and the third parameter tells how big the data buffer is. Now this call is analogous to read procedure in Unix and MS-DOS. In that, the first parameter identifies what is being read, the second provides a buffer in which to put the data, and the third tells how big the data buffer is. Now when a message is transmitted over a network, it contains header and a data buffer. Now this header is a fixed 32-byte structure as shown in the figure. What the first parameter of the get request call does is tell the kernel where to put the incoming header. In addition, prior to making the get request call, the server must initialize the header port field to contain the port it is listening to. Now this is how the kernel knows which server is listening to which port. The incoming header overrides the one initialized by the server. Now when a message arrives, the server is unblocked. It normally first inspects the header to find out more about a request. The next field, that is the signature field, has been reserved for authentication purpose but is not currently used. The remaining fields are not specified by the RPC protocol, so a server and client can agree to use them any way they want. The normal conventions are as follows. Most requests to server contain a capability to specify the object being operated on. Many replies also have a capability as a return value. The private part is normally used to hold the rightmost three fields of the capability. Now most servers support multiple operations on their objects such as reading, writing and destroying. The next field, that is the command field, is conventionally used on request to indicate which operation is needed. On replies, it tells whether the operation was successful or not, and if not, it gives the reason for failure. The last three fields hold parameters, if any. For example, when reading a segment of file, they can be used to indicate the offset within the object to begin reading at and the number of bytes to read. Now the reply to a read container contains a buffer, whereas the reply to a write does not. After the server has completed its work, it makes a call, that is put reply, with this following parameters, that is header, buffer and bytes. Now the first parameter provides the header, the second provides the buffer, and the third tells how big the data buffer is. If a server does a put reply without having previously done an unmatched GET request, the put reply fails with an error. Now let us turn from the server to the client. To do an RPC, the client calls a stub, which makes the following call, as seen on the screen. The first three parameters provide information about the header and buffer of the outgoing request, that is indicated in red, and the last provide the same information for the incoming reply, that is shown in gray. The trans call sends the request and blocks the client until the reply has come in. It would be possible for an intruder to impersonate a server just by doing a GET request on the server's port, since the ports are public after all. Since clients must know them to contact the servers. Now, Amoeba solves this problem cryptographically. Each port is actually a pair of ports, the GET port, which is private, known only to the server, and the put port, which is known to the whole world. The two are related through a one-way function f according to the relation. Now, when a server does a GET request, the corresponding put port is computed by the kernel and stored in a table of ports being listened to. All trans requests use put ports. So when a packet arrives at a machine, the kernel compares the put port in the header to the put ports in its table to see if there's any match. Since GET ports never appear on the network and cannot be derived from the publicly known put ports, the scheme becomes a secure one. Now let's discuss about group communication in Amoeba. RPC is not the only form of communication supported by Amoeba. It also supports group communication. A group in Amoeba consists of one or more processes that are cooperating to carry out some task or provide some service. Processes can be members of several groups at the same time. Groups are closed, meaning that only members can broadcast to the group. Now, the usual way for a client to access a service provided by a group is to do an RPC with one of its members. The members then use group communication within the group, if necessary, to determine who will do what. This design was chosen to provide a great degree of transparency than an open group structure would have. The idea behind it is that the clients normally use RPC to talk to individual servers. So they should use RPC to talk to groups as well. Now there are different operations which are available for group communication in Amoeba. Now the first one is create group. Now this one creates a new group and returns a group identifier used in the other calls to identify which group is meant. The second operation is join group and leave a group. Now they allow processes to enter and exit from existing groups. One of the parameters of join group is a small message that is sent to all group members to announce that the presence of a newcomer. Similarly, one of the parameters of leave group is another small message sent to all the members to say goodbye and wish them good luck in their future activities. The next call is send to group, which automatically broadcasts a message to all members of a specified group in spite of lost messages, finite buffers, and processor crashes. Now, Amoeba supports global time ordering. So if two processes call send to groups simultaneously, the system ensures that all group members will receive the message in the same order. The next one is receive from group, which tries to get a message from a group specified by one of its parameters. If no message is available, the caller blocks until one is available. If a message has already arrived, the caller gets the message with no delay. Now this protocol ensures that in the absence of processor crashes, no message will be lost. And the final call is reset group, which is used to recover from crashes. It specifies how many members the new group must have as a minimum. If the kernel is able to establish contact with the requisite number of processes and rebuild the group, it returns the size of the new group. Otherwise, it will fail. In this case, the recovery is up to the user program.